But it's unfortunate because in normal elections, and really after 40 years of one political organization that talks stability, you would have expected that by now we would have the numbers and confidence, and people should not be talking about whether or not there is going to be rigging, whether or not there's beatings, but whether or not we're able to get our voters to the polling booth, and if they turn to the polling booths, the numbers will be okay. At the moment, unfortunately not. And finally, just quickly, Simon, it would have been very nice that we have established systems in which the guys in academia back people like ourselves and researchers with opinion polls per week, per day, so that today we know that this is where it is, it's neck and neck, what are the numbers, what are the figures, where are undecided voters going to. It's sort of really not there, and it's all mixed up, hence the unfortunate uncertainty.
So it's all foggy, it's hazy.
Extremely hazy and foggy, and it is generally true, and I don't know what my friend Comrade Rich will say. The truth is that if you see in terms of a turn-up, in terms of numbers, and particularly because you have, it's a game between an incumbent that has been around for 40 years and a very tired gentleman, and a leading opposition figure who by and large is, whatever else he does, simply the idea of people wanting change. And wherever he goes, by and large, people follow him, regardless of the details. It must be extremely uncomfortable for candidate Museveni, except that he holds sway as far as the structural systems are concerned.
Thank you. Paula, how do you read into the mood, the tensions arising, and of course, all the uncertainties surrounding the forthcoming election?
Well, depending on the lenses you are seeing it, or from the position you are seeing it, but I came from the north last night, and on Thursday, we had a president in Lira, in Lango, so to say, because there are two different rallies, in Kole district and Lira city. And therefore, it makes me look at the mood from a regional perspective, and I think I would also say from technological perspective. I will explain. It seems in areas where our brothers, our colleagues, NUP is enjoying support, there's some imaginary tension.
Imaginary? Underlined?
Yes, imaginary, because they think something bad will happen. But from areas where we have had comfortable lead, even if you take it by the opinion poll, or by the show of physical support, or even the posters and the banners, if those are something to go by, it is very peaceful. So it looks like in central region, where NUP has really got, seem to have support, because by the opinion poll, they are leading us by 53%, which is understandable.
Whose poll?
I don't know, API poll. API poll, I think Africa Peer Institute something. Africa Peer Institute. So by API poll, NUP is leading in Uganda by 53, and we are closing in because we are still working hard. Now, those areas seems to have imaginary tensions, and this is what brings me to areas of technology. So in the real physical field, in society where people are living, in Lira, in Gulu, in Karamoja, in Umbarara, in Kabale, where people are living in real society, there's no tension. But in technological, in social media, in WhatsApp, for bloggers, for content creators, they're trying to make that there's a lot of uncertainties. Now, if you go by the movement of troops and personnel and security apparatus, I can assure you, I was in the Tanzanian election recently. The number of precautionary measures taken in terms of accusation of crowd control is much, much higher than the amount invested here in equipments of crowd control. In fact, here, I've not seen even new machines. Maybe the police and the state is using even earlier on acquired machine for crowd control. But Tanzania was deliberate, and you know the country is big. You'd see nearly every village armaments, vehicles. So I do
you feel comfortable comparing the Ugandan scenario to Tanzania, really?
I'm comparing this because people seem to think there is that imaginary tension. But I'm saying, apart from the technological, that is the newly acquired system of social media, among the people in Lira on the street, in the people in Gulu on the street, where they are drinking Maroa, in the people in Mbarara, Kavale, Sefo Central, there's no imagination.
So
nobody is seeing there's tension.
Tension
not at all.
is social media hype.
Yes, tension is social media hype. There's no tension, I can assure you, Kagwa, where people are drinking Maroa in Lira, people are drinking Maroa in Soroti, to say there's tension. This tension is technological, manufactured and hyped. And it is in a certain geographical area. And I think it could be deliberate because our colleagues seem to be putting alternative B, so that you make this kind of claim just in case the polling comes out not in your way, then you have alternative B, which is wrong for the country. And I'm yet to wait to see who will throw the first stone. Because for us as NRM, we do think that enough infrastructure or superstructure at that was given for the Electoral Commission. There's a peace. We are not voting under any area of war. The laws were given to them. The police is there. So for us, we shall vote and watch. So for these people who think there's going to be a lot of trouble, we shall see who throws the first stone. And it will be known.
Joseph, Paula seems to suggest that this is all social media hype, but traditionally, all elections come with fever that grips the nation. Do you look at this election as more of the same, or there's been a bit of uniqueness in this time round?
From the context of your first question and then the basis of what we are discussing in terms of, if you use tension from a political perspective, there will be tension where there's an American election, tension where there's a Caribbean election, or tension even if the elections were taking place somewhere in Southeast Asia, in stable democracies, or indeed anywhere in Europe. And Comrade Wich and I are experienced people. I have engaged in electoral processes across the globe, and I have been a net participant in some of those elections. Tension will be there, and that's what I'm trying to say from a context of politics. But then if you then go ahead and bring in the security element, I think it would be very unfair to confine this to social media. As I was coming to your studios, I had to cross over to Northern Bypass, and there's some very ugly vehicles hardly 1 mile from your studios here. Those are police vehicles backed by military trucks, and some of those vehicles have been there for the last several weeks, and you wonder, is there impending attack on Uganda, pending attack on Kampala? We're just preparing merely for elections. So if that is not something that rolls over to the minds,
maybe it's to counter. Maybe it's to counter.
To counter what?
The anxiety that is being generated on social media.
By social media or on social media?
I'm thinking like Paul.
Absolutely not. No, it's an unfortunate thing, and something that we need we need to deal with as a country, and particularly considering our history. We shouldn't be having this conversation. Interestingly, it's January. And I was looking back the other day, we were doing the anniversary of the 1980 general elections. And when you look through the literature and you look at the conversations, including one of the second last clips I got from Paul Muanga, then chairperson of the Military Commission, who talks about the then Electoral Commission as with commissioners that were agreed by consensus by all participating political parties. We know the nuances around the composition of the Electoral Commission, including the leadership, and I don't want to politicize it a few days to this. So that alone. But then if you take it away and you look at the electoral violence that has taken place, particularly targeting the opposition, and particularly without prejudice, NUP, it would not be fair to suggest that these are merely social media harms. Opposition, and as I said, particularly NUP guys have got every right and reason to suggest that, well, the uncertainty in terms of the numbers is apparent.
And then on a number of occasions, analysts have been accused of trading this hyperbole that there's been a lot of violence. Security argues that compared to past episodes, this time there's been a lot of restraint.
Yeah, it will depend on which analyst. Thankfully for me, I'm a political leader. I actually should be a presidential candidate if all things were fine. But maybe people like us should cause concern for security, whether or not we're preparing to go to the bush. I am not. That is one. Number two, I am also an analyst from a very professional perspective. So these things are neither here nor there. And number three, particularly because I'm UPC, we're completely committed to this country, that we want a process in which we're able to have a sense of closure, so that any elections, even if it were this, unfortunately it's already too late for this, any future elections, an election in which we participate in a democratic process, we don't see the military, we don't hear the military, and people who are seeking votes should go on to do so freely, and citizens of this country should be given as much space